Assalamu alaikum. Hello and ahlan. Welcome to another episode of Sash Health. As you all know, I'm Dr. Hamza Sheikh, and we try to bring you a different topic each and every episode. And that's true for this episode as well. We will be talking about new doctors coming to the UK. This is by no means the only way of taking things when you come to the UK or advices. There might be other opinions out there, but this is a bit of background for this is that it's my personal experience as well. I moved here last year. I want to share some of the experiences that I had, some things I learned the hard way, some things that my friends had told me before I came here, and some things that I learned here by actually going through various websites and apps. So I just wanted to share that experience in a nutshell with you, and so that you all benefit when you actually come here. So let's begin. So let's say you have decided to come to the UK and you're looking for jobs or have already found a job. What to expect here? So the financial bit we'll be talking about in this episode. So if you're coming at a middle grade position or above and you've got a family, so I would say having a salary of at least 50,000 annually and above would keep you in a comfortable position. And then of course that salary grows sometimes on an annual basis or depending on your contract, and then you get, your salary goes up. If you're coming at a junior level or are, let's say, single and you've got a very focused goal, or you're coming for training, then you might start off somewhere in the 30s, so like 34, 35,000 annually. But let me tell you one thing, it doesn't stop there with the basic salary. There's a lot of opportunity here to work more and of course earn more. So you could do things like unsocial hours, like weekends, nights, on calls, and even sometimes regular day shift. There's shortage everywhere in every department. So you could pick those shifts up and definitely earn a lot more. So moving a country comes at a cost. There are some things that are unavoidable, particularly which is a visa fees. You have to pay that. There's no way around it. And you'll find more information on the government website for that. So you pay that, and along with that there is a health surcharge. Well, honestly speaking, I didn't know much about that until I actually went in for my visa application. So that is quite a lot of money. It is £400 per person per year. So that will mean £400 per person per year, and if you have 4 family members, so that makes it 1,600, and they take it for 3 years in advance. Okay, so that will make it easily £4,800 for a family of 4. You can work it out depending on your number of family members or if you're coming alone. So that is a lot of money that you have to pay upfront. But there's a catch. There's a good news, and that is that the government has recently announced, because of this COVID pandemic, that healthcare workers are exempt from this health surcharge. So that means you don't have to pay anything if you're making an application anytime beyond 31st of March 2020. And I will be sharing a link down below to have a read on it. So that's some good news to start with. So next we'll talk about accommodation. It is quite an important topic because you should have settled this before you're actually coming to the UK. There are a lot of choices out there. Whatever you do, whatever you choose, basically have something that's all inclusive, and I will be explaining that in a bit. So the choices that you will have are hospital accommodation. You can have things like Airbnb. You do have hotels that would give you sort of a longer stay for less. You have travel lodges. So these are all the choices, of course. The best person to guide you would be, of course, a friend or somebody you know in that trust or in that area, to actually give you a fair idea about what the prices are and how much you'd have to pay for, let's say, the first few months you come in, and how far is it from the hospital. I would always advise, because there's so much going on when you come into a new country, and especially to the UK, get something that is nearer to the hospital. Okay, and secondly, all inclusive. What do I mean by all inclusive? Is basically you just pay out a rent as one amount, and that includes basically includes your rental, it includes your electricity, water, gas, Wi-Fi, and even council tax. All these bills, basically, all in one. Because why I'm saying this is, if you start off paying all these, individually, you don't know what the best provider is. Let's say for electricity, you have to shop around a lot. You have to do a lot of research. So it's best to start off with something that's all inclusive. So you don't have to worry about these things at all. You pay it every month, and that's it, you're done. So the other advantage of hospital accommodation would be basically it's within the premises of the hospital. So you literally walk to work. That is extremely important because you're settling in, your family's settling in, there's a lot going on. So at least I and my friends that came here would had preferred that, just walking to the hospital. And you might have to go more often to the hospital as you would compared to what I'm doing right now. It's because you'll have your health checks, you'll have, let's say, your photograph taken, you'll have lots of e-learning to do, you might have questions, you might prefer going to the hospital library and sitting and doing your work over there. So I think it's better that it is close. And then you might have odd shifts to begin with. So coming back, walking a lot, or getting transport in the unsocial hours is sometimes a little tricky. So take care of that. A disadvantage of hospital accommodation. Well, one is that it's not that great. So it is, let me tell you, it's something very basic. It's something temporary. So don't expect too much out of a hospital accommodation. You can survive there for a few weeks to a month. There are people that have either other goals or they're happy with the accommodation. They live there for years. That's fine. That's totally up to them. But don't expect too much. And it is a fairly cheaper price as compared to the rest of the housing around the hospital or in that particular city. So that is a disadvantage. The other thing would be basically when to move on to actually renting a house for a whole contract, like a year or so, or buying a house. So renting, you can't do that as soon as you land in the UK because one, you don't have an ID card, which is a BRP, which you have to actually collect on arrival here. And secondly, you don't have a bank account. So you need these two things to actually rent out something. So that's why I'm just suggesting that you have an accommodation that is all inclusive and you just land, then work out things, get these things sorted and take it from there. Moving on to buying a house. Well, unless you've got a lot of cash, which is about, in my area, say 300,000 plus for a 3-bed house or above, or 4-bed house. So unless you have all the cash, you can't really get a house in the first 6 months to a year. And that is because for getting a mortgage, for getting a loan, any of these, you need a good credit score. No matter how good your credit score has been and how good you are paying your credit card bills back in your native country, you still need to start from scratch here. So keep that in mind, 6 months to a year at least. And even then you have to pay a slightly higher deposit, which will be between 15 and 20% of the deposit as compared to what is advertised as 5 or 10%. So take care of that. So we've talked about getting to work from your accommodation. Now how about getting around, basically doing your groceries, going to the mall, doing your shopping, or basically just having a good pastime around that particular city you're in. So there are lots of ways of doing that. So UK overall is very, very walking friendly and it's very cycling friendly. So you can do that, especially even you can do that with your family. That would depend, of course, how comfortable you are cycling on the road to begin with. But it is certainly an option. Other options would be public transport. It is amazing. It's everywhere. It's very much accessible. So things like the buses, trams in certain cities. And if you're in London, of course, London Underground is amazing to get you around. However, if you have a family or you have basically a lot of moving around to do, so you need a car. Initially, the best thing would be to basically rent out a car, and you can do that on your international license, and you can drive in the UK for up to a year on your international license. In that period of time, you should be able to get a local license, by booking your theory test, passing it, and then going on to the practical test. So that you should do within a year, because after the day your international license expires, it's illegal to drive in the UK on that license. So it's very, very important, something to keep in mind. So you are renting it out, let's say for a week or a couple of weeks, just to find out where do I actually buy the car from. Now, it really depends on what you want to put in. So let's say if you want to buy a car on cash, a smallish car for 4 people, I mean 5 seats, would be, if you want to buy on cash, of course, second hand, would be somewhere between 4 and 6,000 pounds, a decent one. If you want to go for a slightly bigger one, maybe an SUV, so between 10 and 15,000 pounds. So it is a lot of money for some, but it really depends on what you want. However, if you want to lease a car, it is quite difficult initially because you don't have a credit score, what I talked about for the accommodation. So credit score is something really, really important here. So to make a good credit score, you need at least 6 months to a year. However, it's not impossible. If you look around, you go to various places, you search the internet for various options, they might be able to help you out. The only catch would be you have to put in a lot more deposit if you're getting a new car or a slightly expensive car. So more deposit, and then you get things out on, say, a monthly basis, or like a loan, basically. So, of course, once you have moved into your rented property or your own property, so there's a lot of expenditures that you should be aware of. Of course, they're bound to happen. So I'll just read them out for you if that's okay. So you have to pay things like council tax, and council tax would range between 100 to 150 pounds depending on what sort of accommodation you have and how many people are living in that accommodation. So you'll get a fair idea once you're looking for property. They should be able to guide you on the website, or the agents should be able to tell you how much the council tax is. So that's that. Then you'll have an annual television fee or television tax, whatever you want to call it. So it is about 150 pounds per household per year. So you can distribute that, and let's say it's about 12 to 13 pounds a month. Then you have bills, of course, gas and electricity would be about 50 pounds each, I would say. Water would be about 50 pounds. This is, of course, a bit of plus and minus depending on your usage. Renting, if you are renting, it would, for a family of 3 or 4, you would be looking for a rent between 900 to 1200, I would say, on an average. Again, depends. If you want to get something really, really expensive, you can go even up to 2000, 2500, and really depends on which area you're in. So London, of course, is generally more expensive. Southwest is quite expensive. Midlands and Wales are relatively cheap. The further up north you go, housing is much more cheaper. It really depends on what you want. This is just an average. So if you go for groceries, it would range between 300 to 500 pounds for an average size family. Of course, if you're coming single and it's just the two of you, it'll be a lot less. Let's say you've taken a car on loan or on financing, basically. So it would range between, an average size car would range between 180 pounds a month to, let's say, 300, 320 pounds a month, depending on what you're taking, really. Of course, insurance. This is something, car insurance, this is what I'm talking about. And car insurance, the first time you're driving in the UK, and especially on an international license, it is going to be very expensive. So the first year you might end up paying, over a whole year, of course, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds for a year. You can break that into a monthly fee, but it's quite a lot of money. And it drops significantly the next year if you don't have claims and if you don't have accidents, and etc. And if you've got a good record. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's what I can think of. Of course, there'll be things that will come up, like something just popped into my mind is, we didn't talk about Wi-Fi and telephone, which is a landline, and of course your TV provider. So that would altogether be about somewhere between 40 and 50 pounds a month. Your mobile phone bills, so if you're just going with SIM only, So just airtime and internet usage, so that would be between 10 and 15 pounds a month. If you're taking a phone on contract with that, it would go up to say 40 pounds a month, roughly. Of course, that really depends on what kind of phone you want, what sort of usage you have. So it totally depends on you. These were the bills. There might be some things that I've missed, of course, but happy to help if you have any questions. There's a bit of professional fees that you have to pay, and that should be as soon as you start your job. So things like medical indemnity, there are a lot of providers out there. So that you can decide once you actually get here, but that has to be done fairly early when you start your job. That would range between 600 and 700 pounds annually. You can break that into a monthly fee, but of course that is going to be, you'd end up paying a little more at the end of the year. So it totally depends on how you want to manage those finances. Secondly, in professional fees, you'll have your Royal College fees. So it could be Royal College of Emergency Medicine, Royal College of Physicians. Of course, you need to keep up with the membership fee so that you get all the benefits. You have their e-learning and lots of other things that you need to keep in touch with. So that would be ranging between 300 and 400 pounds annually. Of course, if you join as a consultant and you are a fellow of the college, you end up paying a little more fees. So this goes up to 600 something pounds on an annual basis. So that's something to take care of. However, there's again a good news, is what you can actually have part of these professional fees claimed back at the end of the year, and that is done via the HMRC and government website, which you will find out at the end when you get here. So nothing to worry about at the moment, but you'll have part of it back. So that's some good news. I want to end up by just saying that moving to another country is quite a task, but you don't have to be too scared about it, too worried about it. I think if you just go really planned and you keep taking advice from whoever it is, if you have got a friend in the area, a local friend, or even random people sometimes who are willing to help. There's so many videos out there, there's so many portals out there that can help you. And if you're going through a recruitment agency, then they usually have set up, lately they have set up many portals, websites and apps to actually guide you about that particular local area. So they are extremely helpful as well. So don't be daunted. If you've made that decision, then come here, and with time everything's going to be all right. You're going to be finding that things aren't that difficult. People are extremely friendly here overall, and they're very helpful. They're pretty honest, and there's usually a straight path to everything. So it's, in this digital world, it is quite doable, I would say. So you might find a little bit of loopholes and things and easier ways to do it, shortcuts, that's fine. But generally everything is pretty streamlined, and one by one you'll eventually get there. So yeah, that's just it. So I hope you liked the video, and please like, subscribe and share this video. If you like it, please leave comments, and do check out at the bottom. We'll be putting in some very useful links that will be helping you as well to find out a little more about moving to the UK and what to expect. Thank you very much. Take care. This is Hamza signing off.